Hi, I'm George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday Morning. Boy, is this a different one, and that's for really, really sure. And we're going to be talking about your future, your differentiator. What makes you different than the guy down the street? More importantly, what makes you different from well, you know who they are, the Geicos of the world, et cetera, et cetera. What is your differentiator? How are you going to do that? And I have talked to four friends of mine, Brent Kelly, you're going to hear from him in just a second, Dick Poppy, Al Diamond, and Bruce Cochran. And you recognize all those names. They've all been on Monday Morning a number of times, and I plan to have them many more times because they're the ones that they're the kind of thinkers that I like to deal with. This week, something came along that I had. It was a big surprise, but it was a nice surprise. ACT came along, and the Asians Council for Technology, and they came along with 7 industry trends that's going to affect us. The Independent Insurance Agency. Mobile first was one of them, and boy, that's something we all understand instinctively, but we really didn't understand or haven't understood as much as I guess we're going to need to. The other one was social culture, the digital transformation, the Internet of Me, and I think that's a neat. I hear that a lot. I'm not quite sure what it means, but it sounds wonderful. Connected society. We're all going to be in a connected society, of course. The demographic and segmentation and personalization of the business. The changing nature of insurance risk too. I thought that was very interesting. Well, you're going to see this. You'll see this in a number of magazines and so forth. And the information security and the privacy regulation, of course, they're talking about cyber liability. When I saw those, I thought, boy, that's a perfect start for what we're going to be talking about here because our agents have problems. Everybody has problems, but it's very difficult when you're fighting against the world. So what I'm going to do is ask these pros to be with me for a few minutes and tell what they think is going to be happening. How's the agent going to survive, and how's the agent going to prosper? And so we'll start with Dick Poppy here. Our next presenter is Dick Poppy. Dick and I have known each other for a long, long time. He runs the Independent Insurance Agents of New York, and he is also, he had a background at Indiana when, as I did, we both ran the Big I Association in Indiana. He was just 15 years after me or something, but that's okay. And then he also was with the Independent Insurance Agents of America. I worked with him there, and even back in California for the while he was there too. So, but he did win the Jeff Yates Lifetime Achievement Award, which is proof something. And I like to have Dick on because he runs an association. He sees things a little bit differently. Dick, what do you think is going to make a difference for agencies in the future? How are they going to survive this stuff that's going on? Just your overall thought.
Well, first of all, George, thanks for the kind comments. And from my perspective, it's really sticking to their knitting. And what I mean by that is independent agents have always found the proper ways to adapt to the marketplace. And the introduction of the digital space and everything that's going on with comparison shopping and so forth, that's just one more opportunity for agents to continue to adapt. So I don't want to minimize its impact. So my point's not to say that there's not an impact, but it is to say that I think independent agents and brokers are wonderful at adapting. And so as you look at it, and you look at historically what agents have done is they've differentiated themselves over the years with their counseling and with their ability to represent more than one company to the consumer. The introduction now of the comparative shopping opportunities online really now should focus independent agents on what they do the very best, which is counseling. And that is the differentiator in my mind for the future is their ability as insurance professionals with most of them have an incredible depth of knowledge about their products, about the carriers they represent, about the market that they're the local market that they're working in, and then about the exposure. And they can differentiate themselves and will continue by just becoming excellent at giving consumers advice and information that allows the consumer to make the right choices. I think that to do that, they've got to, from a tactical standpoint, they have to be players in the digital space. And for each agency, that's going to have a little bit different look to it, depending on who they're going after and what their niche is and that kind of thing. But they do have to be in the digital space and do it in a way that attracts and connects with the customers that they want. You know, we hear a lot in of course, Google.com and Google Compare and all the different folks that are out there in the marketplace talk about the customer experience, and that is very important. Agents and brokers are going to need to be able to create the right customer experience, and part of that's really just making sure, again, they understand their customer, understand when they want to do business, how they want to do business, and then accommodating them. And then, George, the last thing I would say, and this is true of all businesses, but it really, I think, significantly impacts independent agents, and that is they have to execute very well. I think we've, over the years, been able to be a little bit sloppy in our execution. But today, in the world that we're in, the real differentiator beyond counseling is going to be excellent execution. And what that means to me is that the consumer gets what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. And at the agency level, that means that promises and representations are kept. So if an agent says they're going to do X, Y, or Z, they do X, Y, or Z, and they do it on the timetable, and they do it completely and accurately. And so I think execution is going to be a key part of making the counseling experience what consumers are going to want.
Okay, Dick. Well, thank you very much for your input, and we'll move. Well, we've heard from Dick. Thank you, Dick. I appreciate that. And now we're going to hear from Brent Kelly. Brent he's kind of a new from the in our business from the standpoint of as a speaker and teacher. I mean, in a way, but he's younger than the rest of us. But he started something called BizGriz, and I heard him, and I thought, boy, this is the kind of guy. He was an agent for like 15 years or so, and was very successful. And he was one of the top young agents in the country. And he has programs. He has boot camps, training programs. It's a lot of it's basic, but a lot of it isn't. He's been a tremendous asset to Monday Morning. He contributes to us on a constant basis. Brent, you talk to agents day in and day out, all day long. What do you see happening? Well, how are they going to make it?
Well, it's a good question, and you know, things, as we know, are rapidly changing. And one of the things that you pointed out already from the ACT slide there was that mobile first. And part of the mobile first, as you know, George, is the fact that consumers, whether it be personal lines, commercial lines, life and health, it doesn't really matter, have access to information 24/7, 365 at their fingertips anytime they want it. And so it's really imperative that insurance agents develop a new mindset, a mindset that is that, you know, they can't just be you know, insurance agents who have a bunch of designations and knowledge. That's great, but they got to figure out how to market themselves in today's digital world. And so that's a big part of things that I do to help. And a lot of it's just a mind shift, you know, to get things started off. And I work with some agents that have embraced it and doing very well with that idea and how they can use content and technology and digital tools to be successful. And others are still kind of hemming and hawing and you know, not sure if change is necessary, either because they don't want to or because they don't know how. And so there's got to be a huge shift. I see it happening, and there's some really good some companies and people and trainers out there doing things, and I'm out there trying to spread the message as well to help agents be successful.
Do you think that's the your major thought about the future is digital management for independent agents? Do you think that is the secret, if there is a secret?
Yeah, I think it's part of it. I think, you know, you look at the demographic even of millennials, which are typically 18 to 34 right now. It fits right into that you know, that right into that age group. And so for years, millennials have always been talked about, but now they're really part of the economy and the insurance economy. And they've never really known a world without the internet, so technology to them isn't, and digital tools aren't something that, oh wow, look, they have it. I think the key, George, is going to be able to take technology, which at this point is expected, and create conversations, engagements, and relationships through the technology, not just having technology. That doesn't solve the problem. It's how do you embrace it to carry on conversations, again, 24/7, 365, before, during, after the sale. And agents that are, again, are doing a good job of that are seeing some success.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, I know you're right. I'm seeing it every day, and I guess the other two. We'll hold that thought, and we'll get back to you after a while here in a little bit. I'm going to bring two people on at one time right here, which is the other two are going to be with me, Al Diamond and Bruce Cochran. Al Diamond, probably everybody knows, the agency consulting group, and Al's been around for quite a while. 1985 it is. 40 years. Gosh, Al, you're doing a long time for you. Must have started about 9 years old, but anyhow, he's a consultant, and really quite a consultant. I've worked with him year after year. He does the pipeline. That's a newsletter that everybody ought to take. It's just phenomenal. And my other is my old friend, and who's with me all the time on these things and help hold my hand all the way, Bruce Cochran. You know, Bruce has, he started, well, he had Cochran and Porter Insurance Agency back when I first knew him, and then he started the Renaissance Alliance, which is the New England's top aggregator, as you probably know. He's very, very active on workers' compensation. He started captive companies. You know, I could go on and on. He was president of Mass Association of Insurance Agents, the Boston Board of Fire Underwriters. He was really nice and gave me a nice reward way back in 1985, as a matter of fact, Bruce. That seems like yesterday. Well, let's talk. Let's Al and Bruce talk about not necessarily what the other two speakers have said, but where do you think this thing's going? What are we going to be doing 5 years from now? Anyway, Al, I think did you start it, or was it Bruce? Either one. Neither one of you want to say.
Well, I'll start if you like.
Yeah,
I appreciate and I agree that technology, automation, the internet and agency automation has given us many, many more tools today than we've ever had in the past. However, as with any other technological change, we seem to go from extreme to extreme. And whether we have agents who don't use technology at all and they are paralyzing themselves, and they will either go away or they will reverse their direction and start using the tools that are being offered to them, or going to the other direction where the technocrats of our industry believe that everything can be done over the internet, everything can be done from an automated fashion, as you said, Brent, 24/7, 365. Neither of those are actually correct. And there's a middle ground that if we get to use technology properly, get to use the facilities of social networking, the internet, and the automated systems, using Bruce and the Renaissance Alliance and all of our other friends in the industry who can bring us all of the product and carriers that we can use, as opposed to historically when agents have had trouble because they've only had a few or a half a dozen or a dozen potential carriers for products. Now, with the initiation of the wholesale industry within the insurance industry, we have access to everyone all the time. And I believe that you're going to have something, George, for us in a little bit that will even expand that further.
I hope so.
However, my point is that the beginning and end to the use of independent agents and whether or not we succeed or fail in the short term is going to depend by how well we manage these technological availabilities to us and still maintain relationships with the clients. Anyone and the client themselves can form relationships with the internet. And the fact that Google Compare has just gone out of the business is not a withdrawal of Google from this type of technology. It's them taking a breather, evaluating what they've done, whether it's worked or not, and preparing the next generation of their offerings to the industry. However, the independent agent has a wonderful and brilliant point of differentiation that we're just not using. And that's that we are local, we are there, we are professionals, and we can form a relationship with clients on a very technically complex problem, ensuring the assets of our clients. This isn't as simple as pricing, although the direct writers would like to manage it in that direction. And if we can convince our clients that a relationship must exist, then we'll continue to have a strong share of the market. That's my feeling.
What do you think, Bruce?
I couldn't agree more with what Al has just said. I do believe technology and data are going to be the great drivers going forward, because that's the way that advancements are going to be made in this business. I think that technology is a great leveler. It enables small independent agents to be able to have the kind of capabilities that consumers want now in terms of a consumer experience. I think that is also going to require agents to have new skill sets, data analytics, data management, database management, so on and so forth. That's going to be something that agents need to have in their quiver. I think outsourcing is going to be a big thing going forward, not only just to reduce costs, but also to be able to redeploy resources to more revenue-generating areas like sales. I have a theory that agents also have a certain amount of management bandwidth, just like you have a bandwidth, in your computer or with your communication mechanisms. And that the more that agents can take off their plate from the myriad of things that are crowding their plate now, robbing the agencies from sales capacity, the more that they'll be able to go back and focus on the only thing that's important in an agency is developing relationships and, of course, sales. And going forward, the industry is going to be paying agents more based upon growth than on profit. And so that just goes hand in hand.
Why is that? I never heard you say that.
Well, because carriers now, with the use of predictive modeling, they believe they're now responsible to produce the profit. In other words, the agent's responsible just to hand over a large number of risks that the agents can put through their filtering process, which is their predictive model. And at the end, the predictive model will tell them which risks are going to be profitable or not. And so going forward, you're going to see a reduction in profit share at the end of the year based upon profitability, meaning underwriting profitability, and it's going to go more and more eventually all the way toward growth.
Well, that would be
a good thing.
Well,
focus back on what's important.
For an aggregator, though, Bruce, much of your thrust and everything is made on the amount of money you make, though. How's that going to affect Renaissance?
Well, it's still based upon placement of risk. And risk placement is more than just price, obviously. Risk placement has to do with, as Al has said very nicely, the local knowledge and the consultative services that are the backbone of this business. I think one of the problems that we've had in the last 10, 15 years is that the large national direct writers have hijacked the national dialogue and made consumers think that price is so important. And unfortunately, many agents fall back into that price trap by responding on price, as opposed to re-articulating their value proposition and making consumers aware of the fact that this product is not something that can be bought and sold like a commodity. And I think that's where I have the greatest deal of confidence in the independent agency system going forward. Entrepreneurs locally responding to local issues and can provide that local knowledge that the consumers really want. And then I think another thing that's going to happen, you're seeing it now with an operation like Lemonade. We're going to go very much more from a top-down to a bottom-up approach in our business. The carriers are going to have problems with that because most carriers, of course, are control freaks. In this case, the consumer is going to have much more control of how the product is developed, how it's priced, and how the claims are settled. Mm-hmm. And that really only has it has a piece of this whole socialization of both the economy and society, where consumers have more control, and they're going to have more control in insurance. But I think there's a huge play there for agents who understand that and who can act as, quote, the facilitators in that process. I think artificial intelligence is a big thing, going back to that outsourcing piece.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the one thing I would say is that I agree with Al that it's not one of these things that's going to be the silver bullet for any agent, but how an agent is able to manage all of these things, take advantage of all of these things in concert to deliver that experience that the consumer wants.
I hear you. Al, what do you think?
I agree. Right down the line. If you can be the best relationship manager in the world, but if you deny the technological aspects of today's world, number one, you won't be able to sell to any millennials because they want that technology. They want that control. And number two, you won't have enough time. It's just too complex to deal with, and you'll end up with less and less clients as an agent doing a great job for them, but you won't satisfy the carriers or your own financial needs.
Got it. Brent, anything else you want to add before we move forward?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I mean, both Al and Bruce bring up great points. One thing I think Bruce had mentioned was, that it being the great leveler. And I think he hit it head on, the fact that the message has been delivered much from the direct writers for a while, kind of campaigning the message on price. And I think when agencies understand the opportunity that they have, to utilize some of these tools to deliver a message of value and way they can really focus on niche markets and things like that, what's going to happen is they're going to be able to level the playing field a little bit, and that to me is what's exciting about the independent insurance agent system and the opportunity in front. So I think they made some amazing points, and I'm just excited for the opportunity for agents.
We have, this is Al.
Go ahead, Al.
I'm sorry.
No.
We have the ability to take the greatest tool that the direct writers are using, the commoditization of our industry, and using it to the benefit of the independent agents. If we agree with commoditization, and we understand that with the conglomerators and the wholesalers and the availability of all the markets and the products that are now available to the smallest agent as well as to the largest agent, then the relationship management becomes much more intense and much more important. We've already proven, and the issue with Google Compare and others like it have shown us over the past 5 or 10 years that while people go to the internet for shopping, for pricing, they don't necessarily buy that way because they understand inherently the complexity of insurance as an entity. Our products aren't really alike. Our claims handling isn't really alike, and you need a professional with you. As long as we can impress that upon our client base, our prospect base, relationship management and consultative selling will trump price quoting. And that's what we're trying to do in the industry now, is bring our agents back away from that shift, from the pendulum swing to the extreme, where they try to compete with the direct writers on price, which is ridiculous. We'll never win that way. And compete with them on something that we have the major benefit of, the ability to relate directly with our clients personally.
All right, Bruce, last words here before I move forward.
I think that agents have one huge advantage over all of the other players in this game, and that is the ability to adapt and to be able to modify what they do to take advantage of what's available. And I'll give you one example. I mentioned artificial intelligence a minute ago. Many agents see themselves as artificial intelligence. Oh, that's high in the sky. That's Star Wars. I can't even get anywhere close to that. Well, the bottom line is that kind of technology is going to be available to agents. For instance, Watson now, as you know, is selling time on Watson. IBM selling time on Watson to be used by a number of different industries, including insurance, by the way. And that's bringing artificial intelligence down to the masses. And eventually that kind of capability is going to come to independent agents. But the agent who understands how to take advantage of that capability and can use it to their advantage is going to be hugely ahead of the competition.
Well, I agree with you totally. As a matter of fact, this is an exciting day for me, and I tell you because I've been working on something for quite a long time, and each of these 4 gentlemen understand that I have and have been giving me a little advice on it. And so what you're really saying, I think that we all realize, let me just kind of put together what you said here, the commoditization, the Geicos, the Googles, and all that sort of thing. We can't compete with them in their playing field. Al, you said it exactly right. There's no way around it. The complexities of communication, this is one that you all alluded to because the millennials and all that can do that sort of thing. But those of us who are older, man, it ain't that easy. At least it isn't for me, and I suspect for you guys, and you're better along at it than I am, I'm sure. But I am a marketing guy and have been for many, many years, and the complexities of marketing is just impossible. I can remember, all kidding aside, when people could, on a national basis, brand a something, whatever it is, the name of your firm or whatever it is, on a national basis, and people said, my God, it costs a lot of money. How much? $10 million. Now the world's come along on communication so much that now we're talking about $1 billion to brand anything, and that really illustrates kind of what's happening, the complications of marketing. But here's something that's bugged the devil out of me, and I don't want to. We could talk about this for a long time. The insurers aren't helping the agencies that I can see it with advertising and marketing. Maybe some of you guys know. I mean, there are some, and obviously I don't want to step on any toes, but it's pressure. The co-op ads are gone. The guys with the money, the insurers, they're not doing that. They're thinking about other things. Not being critical of them. I'm only saying that that's what that's what the world is about, and that makes it very, very tough for this agent who can't get into complications of marketing communications. It's just over his or her head. And I don't understand it. A few other factors you talked about, Watson. That's the artificial intelligence. I think that's exciting. I am. I can't talk about too much. We already have one Monday morning on Watson, but it is just amazing what's going to be able to happen. And it's not going to be a question about what a person should have. You put all your information in the machine, and out comes what you're going to have now and in the future. That's another story. Nobody mentioned big data, or you kind of did, but kind of didn't. And the big data is all the information that comes from the Googles of the world, etc. And all of that big data is going to have a tremendous, tremendous effect on us because everybody's going to know, well, you know what it is. You go on, you look for something on Amazon, the next 3 years, you see the same thing on your ads. I mean, that big data is exciting, and we don't even know what's going on there. Well, you all said this too, and I knew you would, relationships. How to create and how to keep them. It isn't easy. And at any rate, there's one more thing that you didn't mention because none of us have over these years, and all of a sudden I began to realize that there's an increasing percentage of business going to specialty coverages and programs. And so I've been thinking about that. I know I had this system of talking, of interviewing you and back and forth on this on Monday mornings. They call these videos now, guys. They don't. It used to be a voiceover. Everything's a video now that goes on YouTube. But I came up with a solution, and I and other people with me, I came up with a solution that I think can really help against the commoditizers. What can we do that they can't do? And that was what I kept asking. Agencies need to show the world that they're more than just, well, homeowners, automobile, personal lines, commercial lines sellers. We need to tell people that, and that's what you're really saying, I think, but we don't tell people that. Well, how do we do it? I mean, the way we do it is very, very difficult. We have to let them see what we really offer. So I came up with the idea that what if we got the general agencies and the wholesalers and the program managers, and there's about 30 names for these people. What if we got them to begin to work with the agents on a lot more, well, on a personal basis, I guess that'd be. And I began to look into it. I went with rough notes, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So what I'm doing, incidentally, for you, I'm not telling you the whole story today. I'm just giving you a little forward, because next Monday morning is totally devoted, and it's with all kinds of speakers, and it's totally devoted to Monday morning markets, which I'm coming up with, which I'll show you in just a minute. But did you know, I didn't know this, that there are between 800 and 1,000 specialties and programs out there. I just didn't realize that. I thought the Travelers and the Hartfords, sold everything. But I found out it's a lot different than that. And a lot of you are in business on a daily basis would see it better than I. So what I'm suggesting is that people uh, use Monday morning markets, and that's our new business, including Rough Notes Insurance Marketplace, which you'll see and hear and all that, to show the world that you offer a lot more than any other commoditizer, Geico, whoever it may be. I use to have a ability which they will never have to go into any specific area and be able to have a program or coverage for that. And you know it, and I know it, but nobody's taken advantage of it in all these years, I don't think. So I've gone out and, first of all, we've come up with a new name, and the new name is Specialty Markets Providers. We put all together. It was just too much by saying GAs, wholesalers, and all that sort of thing. So if you hear me say Specialty Markets Providers, you're going to hear that a lot in the future. And so we developed something called Monday Morning Markets. And next week, the big announcement of Monday Morning Markets is going to come out. What you're looking at right now is the full page, two-page ad in the AAMGA, Managing General Agents magazine called Win. That came out today, as a matter of fact, this morning. It's a beautiful thing, but down there on their ad, it tells about what Monday Morning Markets is all about. But here's what is Monday Morning Markets. Let me tell you about it. First of all, let me go forward here. We're really, well, let me just, it's the better way to say it is right here. What is it? It's easiest. Monday Morning Markets, it's a primary source for insurance agents to connect with the specialty markets providers, to find and understand the specialty markets and programs. Now, we're doing it in conjunction with Rough Notes, the insurance marketplace, which is fabulous. I never really understood how good it was until I really began to work with it. And we're going to have a customized video product demonstration from insurance market providers, marketing tools. You're going to see it in just a minute, but let me tell you what the purpose is. The purpose or our mission is to be a primary source for insurance agents to start using marketing, specialty markets products and programs. Learn about them, find out about them, access them efficiently and all that. We're going to provide the most effective specialty markets locator system, allowing agencies to stand out from their competition. That's what that's all about, and that's for the retail agents. For the specialty markets people, they're going to have all of a sudden connections to retail agencies, so they'll have wide distribution for the specialty products, more than they have right now. And again, this is a shortcut. I'm just going very quickly here, so I don't take all of your time. I'm just laying the groundwork for when we show you this. The first thing that's going to happen is product knowledge videos. We call them PKVs. What's that mean? It's a video recording of the coverage, explaining the coverage to the people who are listening, not to the agents, but to the possible customers, the prospects, and so forth. Who's going to do those? Well, the general agents and wholesalers are going to do it with me if they like everything themselves, but they're going to be short and sweet and to the point. And if you think about most insurance agency websites, you'll see personal lines, commercial lines. You go in there and you see the writing that looks familiar because it's all, everybody sees the same thing. You may see some videos. I know at agencies online we have about 200 videos now that we can use on a thing, but this is a different thing. This is a knowledge, because what happens is that we're going to take those product knowledge videos, short, sweet, to the point, aimed to the competitor, the buyer, and we're going to do this totally free to agencies. So when you hear me from now on the next years and months say AFTA, that means it's always free to agents. And of course, I mentioned very briefly to you the Rough Notes, the insurance marketplace. We're going to be using that. So what's it look like? Well, if you go to the insurance marketplace, and I think most of the people listening have, or if you have the printed magazine, which they do 40,000 or so regional magazines, you'll always see an explanation of various coverages. Here, for example, is one. This is aircraft, hull, and liability. And so now you're an agent and you're going into what we call our agency specialty package. I don't want to get technical now. I'll tell you more about that next week. But you go in there and you're going to see all of these recorded PKVs, product knowledge videos, and an explanation. And so you've seen these explanations at all. They're copyrighted because they're very, very thorough, and there's over 800 of them already there. But you'll see these, and you'll say, "Oh, okay, I'm looking for a market for something." So you go in there, and all of a sudden you see, "Hey, that's what I want right now. I got a friend that's got an airplane. I'm going to do it." So you go right there, and you see it, and I'll explain where and how in just a second. You click there, And all of a sudden, you will see, well, you'll see and hear the PKV. Now, over here on the right-hand side, and this is not for the consumer to see, this is just for the agents, there you will see the general agency, the wholesaler or whatever. This happens to be Arlington Rowe. They're in Indianapolis, and they're the big writer of aircraft and all that, and they're very, very good. They well known. I've known them for many, many years. But at any rate, you can go there, and when you go to there, you'll have the application blank, all the information, their homepage, whatever. But let's go back to where you're clicking here. What are you going to see? Well, when you click there, you being the customer, remember it's on the agent's website, you being the customer, this is going to come up, product knowledge video, the aircraft hull and liability. The guest happened to be, in this case, the president of Arlington Road, Jim Rowe. The host, I'm the host, and I'll continue to do that. And so what you will hear is 6 minutes or 10 minutes of explanation of all of these, and it helps the agency staff too, because they don't know. I mean, it's very difficult to know all these things. There's going to be hundreds of them. How many are we going to have? I don't know. Our goal this year is over 1,000 agencies, and our goal this year is to have as many of the 800 coverages as that we can, but we'll add to those from the standpoint of programs, new programs coming along. Well, the question is, what are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? The first thing you're going to do, because the commoditizers can't do that, you're going to have on your website a new heading, a menu, specialty coverages and programs. See there? It's down there too. There'll be different places for other people. But why would you want to do that? Because people, well, two reasons really. Reason number one, I've already told you about. Reason number one is that now we can do more than you. We're more than you brokers. We can do anything. We can meet all the diversified needs. And the second reason is that we're wise enough to know in this day and age, and all 3 or 4 of you guys talked about it, the voice, the imagery, the text, that 6 times as much retention from voice alone. All of a sudden, we're bringing the world of insurance to our customers and prospects. Yes, when you can use ours, but also if you don't find one that's recorded or whatever you want on your website, you go to Insurance Marketplace and you put in whatever the category may be. You select the state, whatever it may be. In this case, and then here you'll get a scrolling. And the scrolling down here, and most everybody watching this has probably been in it. In this particular case, we were looking for accountants professional liability in Indiana. So we went down there, and here you'll see all of the suppliers. And when you go down there, when I say suppliers, of course, I mean the product, especially markets providers. And you can see them. I mean, there are more and more and more. Some of them have 100, some of them have 30. But all of these people do have that and have it in various states and so forth. So again, I'm just giving you the overview of what that's all about. So you go in there and you get your, you click on whatever it may be, and you have the information there. Well, from now on, starting soon next week, but in the future, we are going to have one recorded product knowledge video for each coverage. I mean, we won't have them all at once, but for each coverage, we'll eventually have one of these general agencies. In this particular case, it's Herbert Landy. We're doing it. So what I'm just going to do an overview for you. The big thing you need to know is there's no cost to the agents. We help you put it on your website. We go to your webmaster, we teach them and so forth. We have other training programs all along on how to do it. And eventually we are going to, then when we get to about 20 or so, we will have a scroll down situation. So the agent once again can scroll down on these if he or she wants to get up a recorded one. So that's kind of that, and I don't want to take much more of your time here. I'm just laying the groundwork for you. You can sign up for it if you like. Retail agents can sign up. I tell you what, if you go back to our Monday morning email, as we always have, you know, the picture of it and so forth. This time you will also see from now on Monday Morning Markets, and you'll see an application in there. Take you 3 minutes to fill it in. And you send it to us, then we put everything into motion. And boy, do we. And for the general agency, see, it's a neat thing too, because, always remember after, because the general agency, if that's the word, will be, he or she needs to get in this place as fast as they can, because the first ones in are going to get a choice of that particular coverage. And so we suggest they do that. What else is good about it for the general agency? well, or whatever we call it. The other thing that's good about it is all of a sudden they're going to know which agencies are posting on their websites the name of the general agency. They're going to have a relationship. They're going to have all the information about each of these agencies. We don't do that on just the application now. We follow up with all that. But at the end of the day, all of a sudden it's going to be a whole new world, and independent agencies are going to outdistance their competitors, etc. That's it. I mean, I just want to make it quick and short and let you guys look forward to the next week. The general agencies, incidentally, or the specialty markets providers, can go on in back to we also have an application there. And what you should do right away is go in there and pick your coverages. Now, we're going to limit to the general agencies to 10. I mean, we don't want one agency, one organization taking the whole thing, and there's some of them that could financially. We don't want that. We want as many as possible, so they can reserve too. And there's other stories there, but I'll let it go. Any of you guys got any thoughts on this? I hope somebody. Am I?
Well, this is Al. I think this is a wonderful step forward. As far as the agents are concerned, it puts them on a level playing field with anyone else. It's always been tremendously hard for an agent to find exactly the right coverage for a specialty need of their clients. This gives them immediate access through their website. The client can find it themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the major point. Yeah, and if I were an agent and I have it on my web thing, I hear about an aircraft hull or liability or an antique auto or whatever it may be, I'm going to tell the person. I'm also going to send it to them, you know, and use it in a lot of different ways like that. Anybody else thoughts? Anything, Bruce? You think I'm on crazy here?
Well, you're always crazy, George, but
Yeah,
crazy
right.
in a good way. I mean, you've always been very much ahead of everybody else in this industry with these thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think this provides a great resource for agents to be able to make sense out of this whole end of the business.
I do too. And incidentally, we have these done by regions. So if you're in the Northeast, like Bruce or whatever, or like Brent Centers, we have it done by region. So because some of the GAs only, do regions, but that's another story too. Darn phone. Anyhow, always with phone. Anyway, Brent, any last words?
I would just say, first of all, congrats, George. This is a great looking product. I know it's going to help a lot of agents, and you know how I preach content and value, and that's what you're giving them. So kudos to you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And for the rest of you, it's going to come out next week. Be ready, and it's going to be a big one. For you agents, please go tell your general agency wholesalers and all that. Tell all of those people that you have that this is coming out, and if they're the first ones in, they can get it, and they can go right back to our thing. I always try to put in a shot there. And I want to thank you guys for doing this for me and for laying the groundwork. It's a long way to the next 5 years, but I think we're going to make it together. And I'm proud to be working with the four of you. So I'll see you guys next Monday morning.